So are we all laughing at these farmers from Arkansas that had the fucking nerve to vote for Donald Trump, yet here they are asking for a government bailout because their fucking farms aren't making any money? No. They're in the fuck around and find out phase, and I really don't give a shit.
The U.S. Supreme Court just approved racial profiling today. Isn't that fantastic? The court's conservative majority ruled in the LA case where immigration officers were stopped from taking into account, somebody's racial ethnicity, language, etc. when, kidnapping them off the street. But the conservative majority just said today, actually, you can take all of that into consideration. You just can't use ethnicity alone. But if you look a certain way and you speak a certain language and you're doing a job that looks like something an immigrant might be doing, because I don't think an American wants that job, they could kidnap you, essentially, because that's what they're doing over there. And Justice Sotomayor wrote a scathing dissent, as she oft does. My new favorite Supreme Court justice, not gonna lie, called out that her colleagues were sanctioning essentially kidnapping and racial profiling, people being thrown to the ground and handcuffed just for the way they look, the language they speak. This is the United States of America, folks, here in September 2025. Isn't it just fan-friggin-tastic?
The Wall Street Journal has the receipts on Donald Trump in this whole Epstein saga. Remember, he sued the Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones, Rupert Murdoch, saying he never signed a birthday book for Jeffrey Epstein. He didn't draw a picture. Well, Donald Trump, right there, looks like a signature, and he signed it where he likes to grab women by. So not only does the Wall Street Journal have the receipts, now the Oversight Committee in Congress has the receipts as well. Let's see how he tries to obfuscate and deflect and spin his way out of this one. He has Epstein derangement syndrome, we know that. But Epstein.
Did y'all see them booing Dookie Booty at the U.S. Open? Watch this. They was booing with all they goddamn heart. And then he out here passing out that stupid ass red hat. Dookie. He gotta ruin every fucking thing. Everybody don't want you coming to their fucking sporting events. Presidents ain't even supposed to come to the fucking sporting events. You the only president who feel like he gotta go to every fucking sporting event just so you can be fucking seen. Knowing damn well don't nobody want you there. And then you spending all our fucking taxpayer money just so you go to these fucking events using all this fucking security and shit. Keep your shitty ass at home sometime. And why the fuck is Pam Bondi there?
I really enjoyed it. They were really nice. The fans were really nice. I didn't know what to expect.
Why Pam Bondi always with you? You the attorney general. You is not his personal fucking security or whatever the fuck. Why you always somewhere with the fucking president? Go release these fucking Epstein files. What you doing at the U.S. Open? We waiting on these fucking files. You over here at the fucking U.S. Open with the president looking stupid. This motherfucker is the biggest clout chaser ever. How you the president and you a fucking clout chaser? And of course, they try to tell the media not to show any disruptions talking about people booing his ass. We see it. You can't hide him getting booed, no matter where he go.
Oh my goodness, the Democrats held a live press conference today, September 8th, to get ahead of everybody else since they got their hands on Donald Trump's birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, it was turned over by the Epstein estate to the committee that's investigating Epstein, the Epstein files. And he's so guilty. He's so guilty. He's not one of us. And I don't know what Trump supporters are going to do about this. I mean, when he says things like, what do you do when you already have everything, pretending to be Epstein? And then Donald himself comes back and says, I know what you do. Like, it's super sick. Oh my God. But the part that shocks me, because I already know he's guilty, the part that shocks me is he knows what the word enigma is. I'm surprised he knows what the word enigma means. But I do have thoughts about the Democrats and how they showed up today. It was headed by Hakeem Jeffries. If they can use today as a starting point on how they're going to show up and how they're going to talk and get better from here, I'm going to have a great deal more confidence that they're finally figuring it out. The first thing I noticed is that they're loosening up, always having to sound polished and carefully crafted. So when they were posed a clown question from a clown publication, the Washington Times, it wasn't even a question. This woman just put a whole narrative out there painting the police officer who shot Ashley Bobbitt as the bad guy and planted this huge suspicion that Democrats were covering up this police officer's background. They weren't having any of it. And the way that they responded to her was perfect. They came back with a direct attack on exactly what the Washington Times was attempting to do. And it's bullshit. You're a dumbass. Fuck off. That's basically was behind the tone of their words. Hakeem Jeffries still sounds a little too polished for me, but it's getting a little bit better. And of course, they had Jasmine Crockett up there representing, and she said some really impactful things too. And my overall take was they're not there to persuade anyone anymore, good versus evil, right versus wrong. They're just like, you guys are a fucking clown show, and we're going to talk about everything you're doing as if you are. And they focused on the economy throughout the entire press conference. This economy is plummeting. Average Americans are being hurt by this administration. Democrats are committed to fixing this economy, which was really good as well. So yeah, but you guys got to read that birthday note on a woman's body. God, this is just so church-like. This oozes God using Donald Trump.
Politico reported today that Scott, the Treasury Secretary, threatened to start a fight with Bill Pulte, the Secretary of Housing. This happened at the Village Idiots Club, his club for like the super rich assholes called the Executive Branch in Washington, D.C. This was the inaugural dinner of the club. Everybody was there who's anybody, at least some of the schmucks in the Village Idiots administration. There was, let me just look on the Tulsi Gabbard was there. I'm looking at the article. Kelly Loeffler, the SBA administrator. Dr. fucking Oz was there. Secretary of Commerce Howard Putz-Lutnick. Interior Secretary Doug Bergman. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Some venture capitalist named David Sachs. And some right-wing podcaster. They were all there, but apparently Bennett was mad at Pulte because Pulte was talking about him behind his back, talking shit, talking smack about him to the village idiot Donald Trump, or at least Bessent believes that was the case. Who knows? So at this fancy first dinner at this overpriced shit house of Donald Trump's, Bessent went over to Pulte and said, I'm going to say blank instead of the F word because I don't want to get banned. Why the blank are you talking to the president about me? Blank you, Bessent told Pulte. I'm going to blank you in your blanking face. Then apparently the guy who runs this shit house, the guy's name is Omed Malik. He tried to stop it. He tried to get in and stop this idiot from, losing his shit. And Bessent said, it's either him or me, he said to Malik. You tell me who's getting the blank out of here. And then he added, according to Politico, or we could go outside. Bessent was ready to throw down, people. To do what? Asked Pulte. To talk? No, Bessent replied. I am going to effing beat your ass, end quote. That's what Politico is reporting. Don't let me fact check me on this, everyone. Just, you got to go to Politico and read the story. It's worth your time.
Yeah, I saw this clip where it says Arkansas farmers praying to God to help them with their farms since these terrorists start taking over. To help them against Trump's terrorists is what the article said. My first question was, Arkansas farmers, y'all voted in droves for Donald Trump. Y'all supported him. The same farmers that had to get a government handout the last time he was in office. So y'all needed a government handout, which y'all are so against, right? You vote against anybody getting any type of assistance, except for when it comes to y'all. So the taxpayers bailed you out in 2015, 16, whatever it was when he was in office. Y'all come back in 2024 and you vote him back in. Now you are praying and asking God to save you from Trump's terrorists. How are you praying against y'all's second coming? Isn't that what y'all saying? That God sent Trump here to save this country? How are you praying against God's chosen? Per y'all now. I've never said it. But you guys have been saying Trump is chosen, Trump is this, Trump is that. God sent him here to save the country. Y'all been saying all of this. My question is, why are you praying for something, against something you said you prayed for? And now Nebraska and Arkansas farmers are asking for another government handout. You want the taxpayers to bail you out again? But these are the same people that voted against when Biden was trying to save, when Biden was trying to help student loans. He was trying to help people that have student loans. He wanted to get rid of their student loans for them. Y'all were hell-bent against that. You don't need any more government handouts. But what makes y'all so special that y'all deserve them? What makes y'all so special that after this self-inflicted wound, now you want people who you have voted against getting federal assistance, getting SNAP benefits, getting housing assistance, veterans benefits? Y'all voted against all of that. What makes y'all so special that you deserve a government handout while people are going to be starving because y'all voted for people to lose their SNAP benefits? People are going to be homeless because y'all voted against Section 8 housing. What makes you so special that our tax dollars should go to you for your own self-inflicted wound because you constantly go out here and vote against what's against your best interests? And we're supposed to come in and save you in the 11th hour? Oh, I think not. I think not. You voted for this. You supported this. You campaigned for this. Y'all had Trump signs all over the place. Deal with it. You don't believe in government handout, right? It's a waste. It's a waste of tax dollars, right? You voted against waste. We're not going to waste another billions and billions of dollars to bail you out of what we bailed you out of in 2016, 2017. Why should we keep doing this? Why should we be on repeat to give you money, but then starve everybody else out? I wish I would. I wish they would. I would stop paying my taxes. I will go and have it where ain't no taxes coming out of my... I will not. No, I will not. I don't care about you. Oh, you should have saw the clip they had. This room full of farmers down on their knees. Why are you praying against what you prayed for? You said y'all prayed for Trump. Y'all said Trump was God's chosen. So now what is it? Is he not his chosen? All of a sudden, now he's not his chosen because it's affecting you? Oh, honey, please. Them prayers ain't going no further than the ceiling because it's a selfish prayer. You didn't care about other people losing their livelihoods. You didn't care about veterans losing their benefits. You didn't care about people not being able to take care of their children. You didn't care about schools cutting out free lunch for underprivileged children. You didn't care about none of that. None of that even made y'all raise an eyebrow. But the minute it affects you, now all of a sudden, you think y'all deserve a government handout. I wish... Wait for it. I wish they would take 1 penny of my tax dollars and bail you out of another self-inflicted wound. I think not. I think not. And don't have any empathy for it. I'm tired of it. Y'all went out here all gun-ho and supported this man, despite the fact that the man that was in the office before him had set up subsidies to help you take care of your farms. It helped y'all with all kind of farm equipment, all kind of other things that you needed. It was something to get y'all through. And y'all spit in his face and voted the one that came in. The first thing he did was revoke everything that helped the farmers that Biden had implemented. And we're supposed to feel sorry for that. I wish I would. It's about time you learn. I will not stand in the way of you learning the lessons you need to learn from this. I will not prevent you from learning life lessons that you truly need to learn. So I just say, hey, figure it out the best way you can. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And that's what y'all telling the people that wanted to get some relief from these student loans that they have overly charged these students for. They don't even have a chance to get out here and get started without already being hindered with thousands of dollars in bills that they've got to pay. Y'all had no sympathy for them young people. You ain't have no sympathy for children losing their school lunch. You ain't have no sympathy for the vets losing life-saving programs. Y'all didn't have no sympathy. But now that it's affecting you, all of a sudden now the empathy and the sympathy comes in. You can take that empathy and that sympathy and you know what you can do with it. Use it just like you used it when you went in that voting booth, and you voted for who you voted for. Deal with it, suck it up. Ain't nobody coming to your rescue this time. This time, we're gonna let what you vote for take your tail around the block a time or two and drop you off like a two-bit hooker once they've had their fun with you. So hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You got this.
I watched Trump's speech today at the Museum of the Bible, so you don't have to, and here's my overview. We'll start with the craziest thing he said, which is that one man during his campaign knocked on 10 million doors for him. Now, I did the math on that for you, don't worry. If he knocked on one door per minute for 12 straight hours a day, every single day, never stopping, it would only take him 38 years to accomplish this goal of 10 million doors. Let's get into the meat of it. He talked for about 50 minutes. He somehow mentioned Biden 7 different times and Obama twice. So he starts off by saying that America was founded as a country of faith, and when our faith is strong, our country is strong, but when our faith is weak, our country is weak. And apparently right now our faith is weak. He also says that tyrants are denying the rights to religious people. I don't think he knows that he's in charge. On that note, he says we need to bring back religion to our country because, you guessed it, 1 year ago our country was completely dead, and now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. He says that multiple leaders in the Middle East confirm that, as well as every single leader of every NATO nation all told him, we were dead a year ago, now we're the hottest country in the world. He goes on this weird rant about how in 2016, apparently Ben Carson came up to him, I guess during the debates, and said, like, you're going to be the nominee. Why? Because God chose you. And then he goes on and starts complaining about how Ben Carson then continued to do the debates and continued to campaign against him. So he said that during his first term, he had to deal with multiple pandemics. I'm not quite sure which the multiple were. I only remember the one. I guess he's just trying to make up for the fact that he did such a poor job of handling the one that he did have. He then says that America's 250th anniversary might as well be the 300th anniversary. So we should call it the Super Centennial. Just a little bit of learning for you. The 250th anniversary of anything is called its semi-quincentennial. He spent the first 12 minutes of this, no joke, 12 minutes, just naming people. Not any reason why he's naming them, not anything about anything they have accomplished. Literally just naming people. He spends 12 minutes doing that. He spends longer than the entire video you're watching now is going to be just saying people's names. Glad you're here. He said that he personally today delivered the Trump family Bible, which was given to him by his mother, to this museum, and it's going to be displayed there. And he says, this was the Bible that I put my hand on both times when I was sworn in. I mean, he doesn't give a shit about that Bible, and he continues to do illegal things and unconstitutional things that he swore on the Bible he wouldn't do, but I guess now it's going to be displayed in a museum for however long. He said the woke agenda is practically gone, but it's deep-seated like a weed, but it's mostly gone. I'm just going to point out, he spent like 15 minutes in this speech just bashing on trans people. He just said that, you know, what they're doing is unholy and it's not good. I just want to remind you that before major religions like Christianity were around, trans people existed. So they're older than religion, but apparently it's ungodly. He claims that West Point did something great this week, but does not tell us what that is as that relates to faith or anything like that. But the only thing I can go off of is earlier today, he posted something saying that West Point won't be honoring Tom Hanks anymore for something, and then saying that all of the Oscars should also look into their selection process. It doesn't make any sense, but of course it doesn't, right? He says that students in our public schools are indoctrinated with anti-religious ideology, and those who try and show their religious ideology are persecuted for it. He says the Department of Education will put out a directive today saying that prayer is now protected in schools. Prayer has always been protected in schools. It's not a thing that it's not protected, but again, Christians just want to feel like they're persecuted, so he's just playing along to that. He brings up at one point, I'm not kidding you, a 6th grader who says that he was forced to read a book to a kindergartner that basically said that you have to change your gender, or that you should change your gender, and that he didn't feel comfortable about that, so then he complained, and then his parents complained to the school, and then he got immeasurably bullied for that. Probably just because he's a weird religious freak, but you know, whatever. He says transgender for everyone at least 3 times. I'm just going to let you know we're about halfway through at this point. I have ordered shirts and sweatshirts just for me, not for you guys, that just say transgender for everyone and then a quote mark, Donald J. Trump. I cannot wait to wear that around. I'm not kidding when I said he went on this whole trans bashing thing. He at one point says that there are states that can force people who don't want to transition against their will. He's making a claim because he thinks this transgender for everyone is a thing. He's making a claim that states now are forcing people who don't want to transition to the opposite gender. He says again, he boasts about how he made it a decree in the United States that there are only 2 genders, which just goes against science. Like, intersex and non-binary people exist, like in their chromosomes, in the way that they present physically, all of those things. These people do exist. There are people who do not fall into the male-female category. Again, just a scientific thing that has always existed in humans. He talks about the Johnson Amendment, which I guess was some amendment that didn't allow religious leaders to talk about politics, even though they've always talked about politics. And if they do, they might risk losing their tax-exempt status, which I think is a reasonable thing because, you know, state and religion should be separated. But he says he got rid of that, so now they can talk about politics all they want in religion. Great. He said he pardoned the pro-Christian activists who were thrown in jail by Joe Biden. Again, not a thing at all. And then says that he is ending the weaponization of the DOJ against religious groups, which, again, wasn't a thing. Did I mention how many times he mentioned Biden? He talked about Biden 7 times and Obama twice in this. He says that Joe Biden was a mean person. I'm not kidding you, at least 8 times. And then he says that Joe Biden wasn't always a mean person, but I guess the people around him made him a mean person. It didn't make any sense, but he kept using the word mean. He kept saying that he was a mean guy. And it's, you know, Sleepy Joe, just so mean, so angry. He says in this country there is a tremendous anti-Christian bias, but that they're just getting rid of that very quickly. I will again tell you, Christians, you have not been persecuted in this country in any way, shape, or form. You just feel like you want to be the victim. And so you continue to play the victim while you have the major religious group of this entire country as your religious group. But again, whatever. He talks about the stabbing of that woman in Charlotte and also the children who were killed in Minnesota. And he says, when you have horrible killings, you have to have horrible actions. And then says, we're not going to do horrible actions, though. Of course not. So directly contradicts himself immediately. He says that DC is now a free and safe zone and they could be doing the exact same thing in Chicago, and he's just waiting for Chicago to call, and he doesn't understand why they don't call. And then he brings up that blue tent that was outside of the White House that was a sign of protest. They had a permit to be there. And then he says that it was connected with the communist cause and that they got it taken down right away. He also says 3 times that DC was the most violent city in the U.S. I just have to go based on context clues because he does not give a time frame for that, where he previously said that it was the most violent city in the U.S. on the day of his inauguration, which again, just not true. I'm sorry, I should have put this one in there earlier as one of the craziest things. He at one point makes a claim that a man beating his wife is not really a crime. They just had a little fight. And so he thinks that those numbers shouldn't be included in the crime statistics. And if they didn't include silly things like domestic violence, then the crime numbers in DC would actually be 100% reduced, i.e. 0% crime. But he instead says that people are saying it's 87% reduced, which is weird because it's, again, just a statistic that he's previously used to talk about carjacking, specifically not crime overall. He says beating your wife is not a crime. Big surprise there. He says, of course, the 2020 election was rigged, but that was a good thing because by the grace of God of it being rigged, so I guess God was involved in it being rigged, he now gets to have the World Cup, the Olympics, and the 250th anniversary of the United States. By the grace of God. He says he doesn't know where the IOC is located, the International Olympic Committee, but says that he single-handedly was the person who got them to agree to have the Olympics in Los Angeles. He also says that he single-handedly got the World Cup in the US, and then says that he asked FIFA, can we have the World Cup earlier so that it can be during my presumably what would have been his second term? He wants to just move around major world sporting events that the timing of them is known about well in advance, just so he can have it during his presidency. But don't worry, because by the grace of God, he was rigged out of an election in 2020 and then won in 2024, so he gets them anyways. No problems. At the end of the whole thing, there's some guy who's giving a long prayer, and he at some point tries to be interested, and he bows his head and he closes his eyes, and he's trying to be respectful. I will remind you, Donald Trump does not go to church. This man does not go to church. Kamala Harris goes every week. Donald Trump doesn't go. But he gets bored at some point, and he just like opens his eyes and starts looking around, and he's like, kind of, I wonder when this thing is going to end sort of look on his face. All right, 10%ers. Well, we made it through another one. I am sorry. I really did mean to bring up, and it was only when I was going back through my notes that he said that beating your wife is not really a crime. Again, not surprising at all that a man who's been married multiple times, who surrounds himself with people who have been accused of beating their wives, that he thinks that that's not a crime. No surprise in that at all. Question for you, though, right? I know a lot of you really do appreciate the work that I do and want to support me in other ways. A lot of you have asked about me putting up a Patreon and things like that. I'm not really asking for anyone to pay any money to get any of my content, but just throwing this out there, and you can comment it if you're a 10%er and you made it this far. You can just say, AWL would be awesome. I have an Amazon wish list with some things that I personally would like, but probably would not buy for myself. If you want, I can link that in my link tree in my bio. And if you want to support, you could think about getting something off of there or contributing to something that's on there. Anyways, it's been 10 minutes, so I gotta go, but I love you all. Thank you for sticking around.